Ever wanted to work with a real PostgreSQL database online without setting up a server? In this video, I'll show you how to deploy a managed PostgreSQL database on DigitalOcean in just a few minutes. You'll see how to create your database, get the credentials, and connect to it from an SQL editor so you can start querying right away. Whether you're building a side project or want a cloud environment to practice your SQL, this is a simple way to get started. This is one of my favourite ways to spin up a database quickly. It's clean, reliable, and great for testing. Before we dive in, if you want a quick reference guide to SQL commands from multiple vendors, you'll love my SQL cheat sheets. Check out the link in the description. Alright, let's get this Postgres database up and running. If you don't already have a DigitalOcean account, you'll need one. Go to digitalocean.com and click Sign Up. You can use email or GitHub to register. I'll use my GitHub account for this demo, but you can use any method here. Follow the steps to sign up. Once you're signed in, you'll land on the DigitalOcean dashboard. Now we're going to create the actual database. On this page, click on Deploy a Database. You'll see the Create Database Cluster page. If you happen to log in and see a different page but still see this sidebar, you can click on the Databases item on the left menu. On this screen, choose PostgreSQL as the database engine. You can change the Postgres version here, but it defaults to version 17. Then select the basic plan here. This is the smallest one and it's fine for demos or practicing. As you scroll down, you can change the options for CPU and storage. For this demo, I'll leave everything as the default. Next, pick a data center region near you. I'll leave this as the default value. Then we can give our database cluster a name. I'll leave it as the default here, but you can change it if you want. We can see an estimated monthly cost here. Now we can click Add Payment Method and create database cluster. I'll add my payment information, then click the Add Payment Method and Create Database Cluster button. DigitalOcean will now provision your database. This takes about 1 to 2 minutes. Behind the scenes, it's creating a managed PostgreSQL server for you. That means you don't have to worry about updates, backups, or setting up your own virtual machine. Once your database is ready, the next step is to get the connection details so we can use them to connect from our SQL editor. Before we do that, if you're on a different screen in DigitalOcean here, like if you logged in another day, you might see something like this. To see your new database, you can click on the database cluster item here. Or you can click on the databases on the left menu, and then click on the database cluster here. Once you have opened your database cluster like this, click on the Get Started button here. DigitalOcean shows the next step, which is to secure the database cluster. You can set restrictions for connections to the database, which is open to all connections by default. You can even click on the text box here, and it will show your computer's IP address. If you're running this database for a real project, securing it is something I would recommend. But for this demo, we can skip this page. You'll see the information you need here. We have the host, port, database name, username, and password, and the SSL mode if we need that. We'll use these details to connect from our SQL editor. In this demo, I'll use an SQL editor called DataGrip by JetBrains, which is a pretty powerful editor for many databases, but you can use any other editor you like, such as pgadmin or dbeaver. The first thing to do is to create a new connection. The way to do this is different in each editor, but generally there is a connections panel with a little Add New button. I'll click on this button here, then select Data Source and then PostgreSQL. You'll then see this screen in DataGrip or a similar connection details screen in your SQL editor. On this screen, we enter each of the details from our connection page on DigitalOcean. For the host, copy this entire string here and paste it into the host name. Copy the port number as well, as it's different to the default. Next, copy and paste the username. Then copy and paste the password, which you can show by clicking the Show button here. For the database, you can leave it empty by default, but I'll enter in the default DB as shown in DigitalOcean. Now here's a small but important step which you may need to do if you have issues connecting. If you need to enable SSL or use a certificate, you can go back to the connections area in DigitalOcean and get the certificate here. For my connection, I won't need that, but it's there if you need it. Once we have entered all of these details, click on Test Connection. It should show a success message. Then click on the OK button to save the connection. You are now connected to your live PostgreSQL database in the cloud. The connection name is shown here. In many editors, you can give the connection a different name, which I'll do now. I'll call it Postgres DigitalOcean. Let's run a simple query to make sure everything's working. Open an SQL editor in your editor and run a simple select query to get the current date. Run this query. This should return the current timestamp for your database. If you see the timestamp, congratulations, you've just connected to a cloud-hosted PostgreSQL database using your SQL editor. Now that your database is set up, you can do a few things. You can create tables and load sample data and start writing queries on the tables. Or use it as a sandbox to practice with other database tools. Or you can connect it to an app or a project you're working on. You're not limited to just local development anymore. This setup is perfect if you want to build and test without worrying about server maintenance. If you use DigitalOcean for any period of time, you'll want to keep an eye on your costs and usage. This is easy to do in DigitalOcean. To see your usage, go to the Insights tab here. You can see the amount you have used over the period in CPU and load. This is handy to see so you know if there's a big spike. It also looks like you can set up alerts, which is a common and handy feature. You can also see the estimated costs in the top right of the menu bar, which is also handy. If you ever want to remove your database, you can do so pretty easily. Go to the database cluster you have created, then click on Actions, then click on Destroy. Follow the steps to destroy the database. The database will now be removed from your account. Now you have access to a database, you might want to get some real data loaded into it. Watch this video next where you'll see how to load a real dataset from Kaggle and perform some analysis on it. Thanks for watching.